Right, so today our lunchtime webinar is about food and mood. So thank you very much for joining. So today we're going to be talking about food and mood and how what we eat has an effect on our mood and how we can actually enhance our mood by the foods that we eat. So we have speaking today Helen Simpson, who's a dietitian with specialist interest in around food and issues around food, and Abigail, who's an accredited dietitian, and she's very much into sort of like gut health. And my name's Paula, I'm a dietitian. So we're from Hartwood Health, which is a healthcare centre in Fleet, and we all love what we do, and we're very keen to get across clear and concise information that's evidence-based, so we can cut through all the confusion that's out there about what food we should be eating and why we should be eating. Because as you know, when you look on the internet, social media, there are lots of experts out there, and we just want to get the right messages out there to help people to be able to look after their health. So we shall now hand over to Helen, who's going to be talking about why do we eat what we eat. Helen.
Thanks, Paula. Hi, everyone. I think before we get too bogged down with mood and food and basically the topic of the seminar, just open it out a little bit and think about all the factors that influence what actually ends up on our plate on a daily basis. So what I've done is I've listed a few things there, and if you think about your own personal situation and see how these relate to you. So in my mind, these are the factors that will actually affect ultimately our food choices and the food that we eat. So obviously time, if we have loads of time, we might make a bit more effort with our food, and if we're short of time and when we just grab something that's quicker to hand. How much money we have, you know, are we on a cheap week? Is it the end of the month? Or have we got a bit more money and we want to spend a little bit more money on our food? Where we are we on holiday? Are we in a tent? Have we got a gas stove, or have we got a lovely fully fitted kitchen where we've got all facilities to hand? How many people we're cooking for? Is it just us? Or are we doing a dinner party, or are we doing a family event? This will all influence the kinds of foods that we eat. How good we are at cooking. Now, we might be a master chef, or we might not be very good, or we might just have a bit of a dabble, but this will influence hugely our food choices. The facilities that we have to hand in our kitchen, the equipment, whether we've got a top-notch oven or an oven that's a bit unpredictable, this kind of thing. And really a big one is how much food we've got in the house and what that food is. I'm sure we've all been in situations where if we've got children, they've said to us, oh, there's no food, there's nothing to eat. Of course, the house is full of food, it's just not full of food that they want. But, you know, the end of the week, if it's food shopping day, what we've got available is a key feature as well. Obviously, I've put mood in there because that's really important, and that sort of links into our energy levels. How keen are we feeling to spend a lot of time cooking? Have we had a good day? Have we had an absolutely rubbish day? Is food medicinal or is it just functional? All these kinds of things. Whether we know what we should be eating, are we really, sorry Paula, are we really quite, you know, clued up on what we need to be eating, or does it not even feature in our choices? Are we cooking for any medical conditions, any food allergies, diabetes, heart conditions, weight reduction, this kind of thing? And also, fundamentally, I think this is really quite important because it sits at the back of our mind. Bad experiences or even good experiences as a child of food. I'm always very wary about saying this as a dietitian, but I can't eat fish, and believe me, I have tried, because I had a terrible experience as a child, and I just can't get over that. So that will stay with me forever, I'm afraid, so I have to find another way. And also this week, just another one that's come to mind, is things like seasonal change. I'm sitting here in my thick jumper talking and thinking about dumplings, whereas last week I was in a t-shirt thinking about salad. So we have seasonal variations in our food choices. And obviously, finally, but I have put it at the end for a reason, nutrition. I think sometimes we don't often think about, you know, have I had my my iron intake today? Am I a bit low on B12? We tend to choose our foods based on all those other factors listed before. Thank you, Paula. So, what do we perceive to be good and bad foods? I think it's quite interesting that we even attach those words to food choice. So what I've done is I've listed there things that I think we perceive to be good foods. They'll be healthy foods. We'll know that they're going to do us good. They'll be colourful foods. They'll look really attractive. There'll be lots of vibrant colours in there, lots of greens, lots of reds, this kind of thing. They're going to look really pretty. And the food is going to look beautiful on that plate. And these are the kinds of foods that we tend to eat when we're in a good place. So we've had a good day, we're motivated, things are going well, and we're coping really well. And also, again, this is a really interesting mindset, isn't it? I'm being good today, so I'm going to eat good foods, which are healthy foods and will do me good. On the other side, what do we perceive to be bad foods? Now, we perceive to be bad foods, foods which we actually like and we enjoy eating. So a bit of a contradiction there. These foods tend to be quite high in fat and sugar. They tend to be quite energy dense, both in texture as well as nutrition. And if you think about the colour of them, they're not particularly attractive to look at from a visual point of view. Mentally, yes, but visually, no. So colour-wise, you don't see the greens or the reds. They tend to be quite brown and yellowy foods. They're comfort foods, and we eat them when we're sad, when we need a bit of a boost, when we've had a rubbish day and life's getting a bit too much. So my question to you then is whether they actually make us feel better or worse. And just moving on to the next slide. This is perhaps the nitty-gritty of where we're at, isn't it? So bad foods, as we perceive them to be bad foods, and particularly those high in carbohydrates, will initially have an impact on your mood because they will make you feel better. And the reason they do that is that they will naturally, and exactly what they're designed to do, they will increase the level of blood glucose, which will make us feel more alert, more awake, more in control, better able to concentrate. And if we really go for it, will give us a sugar high. So we're going to feel great. And you think, well, this food's done me a lot of good. I'm going to have more of this. However, what tends to happen relatively shortly afterwards is that your glucose levels will dip. And if you've gone really, really mad with the sugar, you'll end up with a sugar crash. You'll then feel tired. You want to go to sleep. You might then feel guilty. And you might wish you hadn't eaten that food in the first place. So I think it's really important to understand why we're choosing those kinds of foods. Are we choosing them for all the reasons that we listed at the beginning? Are we choosing them because we just want a treat? And there's absolutely no reason, there's nothing wrong with that. And I was very careful about using the word guilt because I don't think we should ever feel guilty about food choices. What I think it's really important is to understand why we make those choices and what those factors are that are driving that decision to either put that food in our supermarket trolley, pick that food out the cupboard, put that amount of food on our plate, and also how much we eat. So this is possibly throwing more questions at you than answers, but I think if you think about your personal relationship with food, you can then start to make your choices influence your mood rather than the foods you eat influence your mood. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much, Helen. That's really interesting, and like you say, it raises lots of questions, and it's amazing how sort of like environmental outside conditions can also affect our food choices. I was just thinking then about, you know, maybe when you're a student and you live on baked beans or some sort of, you know, food that you have for a long time, and then it's like, no, I can't have those anymore. But yeah, and all those sorts of, you know, like I said, environmental situations and how they have an effect on us with our food choices. That's great, thank you. So we'll now go on to Abby, who's going to be talking about, you know, is diet and mental health linked? What foods could we be eating that could improve our mental health? Thank you, Abby.
Thank you, Paula. So the brain and body was previously thought of as separate entities, but as we can really see from what Helen's just said, what happens in the body affects the brain and vice versa. And we are truly a highly integrated complex system. Now, the negative impact of poor diets and mental health disorders on the world population is really substantial, and it continues to increase. Depression and anxiety are actually the 4th and 5th highest leading cause of morbidity and mortality worldwide. So what does your gut microbiome have to do with this? The gut microbiome is the collective term given to the trillions of good and bad microorganisms inhabiting our gut. So we're actually made up of more microbial cells than we are human cells. And they're all unique. Even identical twins have different gut microbiomes, which is fascinating. And digestion and absorption of nutrients is one of its main functions. So you really are what you absorb, not you are what you eat. You could eat a perfectly healthy diet 90% of the time, but if you're not absorbing the nutrients from that diet, it's pretty pointless. So the gut-brain axis, a term you might have heard of before, can be described as the bidirectional communication between your GI tract and your central nervous system. So it's used to explain the interaction between microbes residing in your gut and the cognitive and emotional centers in the brain. So the exact pathway is unknown, but it's thought that the vagus nerve plays a key role in this. So one of the most important factors that could influence our gut microbiome is diet. And this is good because it's modifiable. The SMILES trial in 2017 was the first randomized control trial to demonstrate that making dietary changes, such as an increase in fruit and veg, fish, whole grains, and a decreased intake of highly processed and sugary foods, were consistently associated with better mental health outcomes. And this is a great thing for treatment options and strategies in major depression. So how can we promote the health of your gut microbes for better mental health? Now, although we are yet to have a clear understanding as to what microbes in particular a healthy gut microbiome should consist of, it's a common understanding that a diverse community of gut microbes contributes to a healthy metabolism and a healthy microbiota. So foods in particular that contribute to this are fibrous foods, such as fruit, veg, grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. So fiber is the indigestible part of plant foods that keep you regular, balance your blood sugar levels, and can help even lower cholesterol. So in fact, one of the primary roles of the gut microbiome is to break down fiber. And in doing so, it releases many important molecules that affect health. So these are called metabolites, such as short-chain fatty acids, in particular butyrate, and they play a significant role in regulating metabolism. So without fiber, our gut microbiome can't function properly. It's just a shame that fiber hasn't really been, it's not really the sexy thing that's been advertised in industry, but it is so important. And foods with pre and probiotic ingredients are key to keeping those good gut bugs happy. So probiotics are the good gut bugs living inside your gut, and prebiotics are the food that feeds your good gut bugs. So without them, probiotics wouldn't survive. You need both. So there's no point taking a load of probiotic supplements if you're not having any prebiotic supplements, because they're not going to survive in your gut, and they're not going to thrive in your gut either. Other foods that are thought to be beneficial to our gut are omega-3 fatty acids. So these can be found in oily fish, flaxseed, chia seeds. We've got polyphenols, so polyphenol-rich foods such as cacao, green tea, extra virgin olive oil. So polyphenols are the plant chemicals digested by your gut bacteria. I would always advocate salt, oven, and extra virgin olive oil are your best friends for just a tray bake of veg, and that's a really good option. Just easy dinner time to add to some oily fish. So we've also got serotonin and tryptophan. So these are the words that you might have heard of before. So the gut and the brain are connected through chemicals such as serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter, and these contribute to your feelings of happiness and mood. So foods containing serotonin are eggs, particularly the yolk, salmon, nuts, and seeds. But you also need tryptophan, which is an amino acid, and it's the precursor to serotonin. So these are also protein-rich foods like turkey, egg yolk again, and these really help to, you need these to sort of eat them in your diet at regular intervals, so that it can promote these good feelings of elevated mood. So, bite-sized takeaways. So it's really important that we are getting a wide and diverse range of foods, because we know that this is what correlates with the research in having a healthier gut microbiome. So for a diet that is going to promote positive mental health, a good stepping stone to optimizing your gut health and is to sort of reach for complex carbohydrates, so the whole grains, so we're really getting that fiber in, a range of lean protein sources, a thumb-sized amount of healthy fats at every meal, 2 portions of oily fish a week. If you are really not a fan of fish, this is when supplementing with an omega-3 you may want to consider. And a colourful range of different fruits and veg. So the best way to do this is by eating seasonably, because then each season you're actually changing the fruit and veg that you're eating. And then lastly, sort of remember to keep hydrated as well, because the fluid helps to keep your bowels moving regularly and keep your gut happy. And Helen, if you'd like to finish with...
Thanks, Abby. Yeah, just be very aware of the emotional impact of the food that you eat, and try to not use food as a support for mood. Use it as a nutritional source of great food and great health. Take away using good foods and, well, bad foods, perhaps, as we've talked about, good foods depending on your viewpoint, to make you feel better. Use another reward system, another way of treating yourself. Go and do something that's actually going to make you feel better rather than potentially make you feel worse. And just personally be aware of the impact of food choice on your behaviour and mood. So go right back and think about those factors that influence your food choice, and think about how you feel afterwards. Small changes will make a huge difference. We often get stuck in a pattern of behaviour, so perhaps revisit all those things that we've talked about and see the effect that it has. Thank you.